Welcome back, tribe. Have one here from Bjorn Andreas Bullhansen. I love Nordic names. They're so cool. He says, why men are alone, the ugly truth women don't want to hear.
Hi there, and welcome to my local area. It's the middle of the night. I think it's about 4 o'clock in the morning now. The birds are awake. And this is what it looks like. It's the end of June, and we are in Norway. So
beautiful country.
Beautiful, right? So I was out here sailing yesterday, just past here, and this is a beautiful, wonderful time of the year. And hopefully you will enjoy the scenery while I talk about this rather difficult topic. Now, to the women watching, please remember that you're going to get a man's perspective. I shouldn't have to say it, but that's what you're going to get here, because as a man, I'm giving you a man's perspective. And the first inconvenient piece of fact, the first inconvenient truth here is that less and less women are seen as attractive. This has to do with things like obesity. It has to do with things like a very extreme trend when it comes to looks. Several women are now typing things like, I'm sorry you're not getting any, I'm sorry you're such a horrible person, and that you have such a horrible view of women and all of that. Just keep writing that. That's okay. So that's the most sensitive part of the whole thing done.
Of course, their looks are the most sensitive part, but I was thinking of doing a Scandinavian trip before I met my girl. Scandinavian people are just beautiful in general. However, cold on the exterior, especially to outsiders. They're just awkward people in general. They do not have any social skills, and the social skills they do have are usually under the influence of a lot of alcohol, binge drinking culture and stuff like that. When they go out, they need to get liquored up in order to be social whatsoever. Sad. Other parts of their culture, though, absolutely incredible. They're very in tune with nature. They love the outdoors. Strong nationalistic feel. In general, they love their flags. All the women you'll see there wear traditional clothing and stuff, at least in the Tinder pictures, all the dating apps, they'll always be wearing that like traditional, looks like a countryside girl. It's whatever their folk dress is. So they're very nationalistic in that sense, but other parts are not. So they're highly educated, but they have extreme feminist views. Immigration policies that are biting them in the ass currently. They're no longer holding the title as the safest countries in Europe, and progressive policies are slowly decaying all the hard work previous generations have put into the country to get their children to be this far ahead versus the rest of the world. So they're welcoming people left and right, people that don't respect their culture, and they're losing their identity and, unfortunately, eventually their country. Hello, Sweden. But yeah, Scandinavian women, beautiful, drop dead, gorgeous, tall, make some of the worst partners though. No offense. That's to every man I've ever asked who's ever dated. That's including Scandinavian men that are looking to get out of the country and bring home foreign brides. It's not just me saying this. It's this whole video. Let's get into it.
Done with. Even more important, I think, is the attitude that we are seeing. Women these days, especially I will say young women, they have a certain attitude. And I think this comes from social media. A woman will post some pictures on Instagram or something like that, and they will have 100
likes or whatever.
Men, I'm using that term in the widest sense possible. Men who will write, oh, you're so beautiful, oh, you're so,
Simps.
Just throwing compliments some woman. It kind of props up that woman's self-image in an unhealthy way. What this does is that, and many other people have tried to explain how this works, but you get an unhealthy self-image based on your looks. That's not a good thing, and it also makes these women believe that since they are being complimented on constantly on social media, they should go for the high value men. But the thing with these high value men is that they have options. So they will pick and choose. And chances are that they will choose a woman who is feminine, healthy, mentally and physically healthy. So if you come there, with your face covered in piercings and blue hair and all of that, and I'm a strong, independent woman attitude, that high value man, he will probably not be attracted by that. And
The woke mind virus has spread across the world thanks to America exporting its culture. And unfortunately, America's in a bit of a downturn, and it's exporting the degenerate culture as well. I see it creeping up here in Eastern Europe amongst the youngest people, but in Bucharest so far, it's very hard to see the kind of women that he was showing. You're still looked at as a freak here. I'll give you just how extreme it is. We're building the largest Eastern Orthodox Christian church in the world. Right now is under construction in Bucharest. Probably one of the most religious countries in Eastern Europe. Degeneracy and the woke mind virus has not taken a foothold yet because of that. But because of the religious fanaticism, you would say, this side of the world and all the other Balkan countries have been a little bit slow to modernize, which may have been a blessing in disguise given the direction the modern nations have been taking. So we may not be enjoying the highest human development index ratings, and our roads may not be picturesque perfect in our buildings, and a whole slew of factors that have made Eastern Europe a bit slow to catch up to the Western neighbors, like being in a practical war zone between mega empires since, we've been record keeping the entire area. So, less stability in general as you're getting invaded or fighting off invaders, but still a bit of a blessing in disguise, I would say, overall. I don't know how much longer it will last, man. Maybe 15, 20 years from now, the gap will disappear unless America starts to have a U-turn and then drags the rest of Western Europe along with it in terms of leaning far more conservative, embodying traditional values, turning into a society that's family forward thinking, family oriented. But I don't see that happening in the most hyper capitalistic country in the world. Basically, money is God. Money rules all. Money above citizens. Money above governance and country. That's what America symbolizes today, unfortunately, and we're all paying the price for it.
To those who are provoked by me saying that, I'm just telling you the truth here, okay? And you may not like that, but it is what it is. And anyone with an IQ higher than their shoe number will be able to understand that. I am not saying here that I think we should go back to a time where the woman, she was in the kitchen and she was a servant to the man and she was obedient and all that. No, I'm obviously not saying that. But in this time and age where people get offended on purpose and they misunderstand on purpose, just let me make that very clear. And I want to add that I do believe that a lot of women, they have sort of given up on trying to find a good man, because they, on their side, they will probably see a lot of men as immature, that they're not masculine, that there's...
Well, dating culture in Scandinavia is a bit messed up anyways. This is how these people typically date there. You go out to a bar, you drink, then you like each other, then you go to each other's house, have sex. If the sex is good, you will see each other some more and some more. After you're dating for a few years and the sex is good enough to keep you two together, all of a sudden one kid, two if you're lucky, pops out, and then potentially getting married. That's the way they do it there. People that live in Scandinavia can explain it to you. Had some Scandinavian friends, and that's typically the way the cookie crumbles in the Nordic countries. They're very loose with sex. Having sex on the first date isn't actually a big deal. It's not really seen as taboo, but it's also not ideal when it comes to family planning and raising a family in a traditional manner, which is why they're having so many issues with, potentially the woke mind virus.
And I think that's a product of modern society as well. A result of things that men are hearing all the time, that masculine qualities are bad and so on. So when that's all you're hearing, then why would you bother? Why would you bother being that masculine guy? Why would you bother? Why would you want that? If you believe in the lies, because those are lies that mainstream media are serving you. And there is also, of course, the legal system, which kind of gives men a bad deal if a relationship, especially a marriage, breaks up. As a man, you're in a difficult position if that happens. And statistically, that happens quite often. I kind of decided that I wasn't going to try to get everything right in this video. Because, there are as many angles and perspectives on this as there are people. But I just wanted to add something to the discussion. And I wanted to say that, yes, I understand that there are people, there are men and women who have decided to kind of opt out of the whole thing. And I think that's very sad, and it shouldn't be like that. And I think that we need to get back to how it's supposed to be. You know, we need men to be, to get back to that healthy masculinity. And we need women to get back to that healthy femininity. And I think social media, mainstream media has made so much damage. It really is unforgivable. When you're watching this video, I will probably be back from a trip to Hungary and Romania. And as part of my job as a novelist, I have to travel sometimes. And when you travel to, especially Eastern Europe, you can clearly see the difference between Western Europe and, North America and Eastern Europe. It's quite a big difference. And there are pros and cons with everything, I guess, but it seems like in Eastern Europe, women have managed to preserve their natural femininity in a much better way. I feel that we're at a place now here in the West where beauty must be mocked. Everything that's beautiful must be ridiculed.
Marxist.
And I see it all the time, and I see it in art. I see it in people. I see it in the attitudes of the politically correct. And I see how especially women are influenced by those attitudes. I always say this, we need to connect with nature. Nature is beautiful and brutal, but mostly beautiful. And everything here is as it should be, as it has always been. I like that, And with those words, I will be ending this video.
Yeah, I agree with what he's saying, the preserving of femininity in Eastern Europe. If you don't believe me, look at the videos that I'll put 3 different videos up here of me walking around Bucharest. Use your own eyeballs and just watch. Look at the difference, how the women look, how they dress, how couples behave, how the families are in the streets. This is just walking around, dude, any old street. I'm not picking something crazy. I'm just showing you day to day when I'm going out, walking about, and this is what you see. What he's talking about is what I've talked about in the videos on the second channel all the time, the difference of a society that is family forward thinking, where men are still men, women are still women, and coming together still seen as the best of two halves, combining for something greater than themselves. There's no adversarial attitude here. There's no we're women, we're better, we can do things our own, we don't need, none of that shit exists here. We understand how important it is to have a man and a woman together because most of the people here grow up in families that are still beyond the nuclear family, by the way. Multi-generational households are the norm here still. Everybody is extremely close with their grandparents in the countryside. We're connected to nature still in that sense. When you go visit your grandma or your grandparents for dinner once in a while, and you have a big feast with the family that gathers from all over the city, the countries, wherever that people have moved to. And that experience is so grounding for the soul. I can't begin to describe what it does to you, your day to day, how being brought up and socialized in that kind of family structure, how it seeps out into society at large and how people behave. Now, I'm not saying Eastern Europe's perfect. Surely it has a lot of problems. But on the family aspect, on the masculinity and femininity aspect, it's very much doing better than the rest of Europe and the West in general. Southeastern Europe, Balkans, Eastern Europe, wherever you want to classify it as. When you come here, you actually want to settle down. You actually would like to start a family. You would like to be the head of a household. You don't have to worry about getting stabbed, robbed, shot like you do in some of the Western capitals. Everything is clean for the most part, and that's relative to, again, Western capitals. We've had an inverse where Eastern European capitals or Southeastern, Balkan, whatever, are now some of the safest, as opposed to they used to be one of the more dangerous ones. Now it's turned completely upside down because, let's be honest, we haven't had an influx of migration. We haven't had an influx of woke ideology because people are still riding on the stereotypes of the past of what Eastern Europe looks like, desolate communist hellhole, while all the countries have quietly upgraded, modernized, and caught up to most of the Western nations, but being largely ignored by everybody. So they're allowed to just quietly develop on their own in homogenous societies, and you can feel that. when you come here. Don't believe me? Look at all the videos here that are popping up for you guys. I'm going to leave them up at the end of this one. Read a few of these comments and check them out for yourself. See what you think. Subscribe to the second channel. Hang out with us on the rest of those videos where we do community chats. Join us on some of those. Men are just saying some simple things like social media broke the world, expectations and demand for attention, and positive likes nonstop. Super unhealthy. If a woman gets offended when you try to be nice to her, run. Being honest won't win you many friends, but it will win you the right ones. I think the biggest problem in relationships is thinking that someone else is responsible for your happiness. Been single for 10 years. The dating scene is a travesty of human interaction. As a woman, I totally agree. Where has femininity gone? Where has self-respect gone? All part of the agenda. Stop noticing. She's noticing things. You know you get in trouble for noticing things. We'll see you guys on the next one.